You asked me for a way out, I had access to one. For the record, I absolutely do not want you to go, but it sounds to me like you happen to be already gone.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and reviewing Season 7 Episode 15 of The Walking Dead, Something We Need. This episode was absolutely amazing, almost overwhelming actually. So much crazy shit went down, and at the same time, it was such a great build-up for the Season 7 finale as well. That being said, warning of spoilers for everything in the show up to the Season 7 finale, and let's jump right into it. Alright, so at the beginning of the episode, we start out with a montage of Tara bringing Rick and other Alexandrians out to Oceanside. Back at the end of episode 7:12, I believe, we actually saw Tara waiting at Rick's house to confess the existence of the Oceanside to him, and so during this opening montage, we can actually hear moments from her conversation with Rick.
Are you ready if this goes south?
It won't.
If it does, you don't need to feel bad.
I do feel bad. I will.
Tara, you don't have to.
Rick seems initially mad that Tara kept this from them, but he seems to quickly forgive her as he tells her that she doesn't need to feel bad. The first thing we hear her mention is the fact that Oceanside has a huge gun armory, which fits nicely into the title of the episode, which is called Something We Need.
They have guns. A lot of them. I saw it.
What?
That group. The women I met. They have an armory. They have guns.
Why didn't you tell us before now?
I made a promise, Rick.
And so as our fellow Alexandrians get set up to attack the Oceanside, we get a small talk between our main characters. First, we can see Michonne climbing a tree getting into position, then it cuts to Aaron and Eric, as Eric's actually shown to be out on a run with them this time instead of sitting at home worried about Aaron like he usually does. Eric realizes their options and is making the best of what he can. As Jesus and Daryl start laying down the rope for the dynamite that they're planning to set off, they talk to each other about Rosita and Sasha as Jesus worries terribly about them, saying that he should have tried harder convincing them not to go. Daryl mentions that they're probably safe back at the hilltop, but they find out later that that's definitely not the case. Anyways, let's jump to when we first see Natanya in this episode as she's walking to her home after talking to Rachel. The second she walks inside her house and closes the door, Tara points a gun at her and says hi. The first thing Natanya says is that they should have killed her in the village, but Tara mentions that they'll be glad that they didn't. This of course is because Tara's ultimate plan is to help Rick take out the Saviors, something that the people of Oceanside would love to have happen. Sadly, Tara explains things in about the most backwards ass way that she can. She starts out by saying that they're going to take this place, and ends with asking them to join us.
My friends are out there right now, and they're gonna take this place, hopefully without firing a shot.
What are you talking about?
We need your guns. We're gonna fight the Saviors. You should join us.
No.
The Saviors killed your fathers.
Maybe if she would have explained to her the reasoning in a convincing way, they'd be more open to help, but either way, Natanya's paranoia is just through the roof and beyond reasoning with. As Tara apologizes to Cindy for breaking her promise, she mentions that at least she just isn't giving up and running away in the woods like Oceanside. She's going to fight the Saviors and she's going to win. This is where she mentions that the world can belong to the good people and that they just need to try. And this conversation was actually teased ever since the Season 7B trailer, and I thought it'd be more of a speech in front of the entire community, but we pretty much get that in a moment anyways. So since Natanya didn't decide to tell Tara to call off the attack in time, intentionally harmless explosions start going off all around the Oceanside, scaring the residents to run away in fear. And as most of the residents actually do that, Patrice and her friend realize that they need to protect their stash of guns, so they run in to try and save the day for their community. And you know, maybe if it was like the Saviors attacking them and they didn't know where the armor locker is, Patrice would have actually gotten there in time, but thankfully for us, Michonne and Daryl stop them right in their tracks outside of the door to the guns locker as Michonne shoots her sniper rifle at their feet, while Daryl yells at them to get on the ground. Real quick, I'd like to mention that the way Michonne shoots at the ground honestly reminds me of the way the cannibals of Terminus shot at the ground of our survivors back in the finale of Season 4. Meanwhile, Carl and Father Gabriel have the entire Oceanside community stopped in their tracks as they tell everyone to stay calm and that no one has to die. Sadly though, Sydney and Natanya pull a fast one on Tara, causing her to lose her leverage over them. So while Rick comes out and continues to mention the idea of no one getting hurt, Natanya comes out with a gun to the back of Tara's head and threatens her life if everyone doesn't leave immediately. And so Rick ends up declaring that they're taking Natanya's guns no matter what fate she decides for Tara. And speaking of which, Tara notices Michonne ready to snipe out Natanya, but she yells at her and tells her not to. Sydney blurts out that Alexandria wants them to help fight the Saviors, which definitely catches the attention of some of the women. Beatrice mentions that they should try, leading even Sydney to tell Natanya to stop. Sadly, Natanya starts going off on some crazy adrenaline-fueled rant to her people, trying to sway them against fighting the Saviors. She mentions that she's going to kill Tara and die over this, but that it's that important. I personally believe that she's just being stubborn and doesn't want to accept defeat over the situation that she's built up, as leaders don't usually enjoy admitting defeat in front of their people, especially when they've built it up so much. And so while Natanya is doing her crazy rant, Michonne notices a few walkers and calls it out to Rick, making everyone get distracted long enough for Sydney to knock out Natanya and save Tara's life yet again. What comes off as even a bigger shock on top of that is the fact that we see Enid standing behind Natanya with her gun up, just completely shaking over the fact that she was about to kill her. So as a small horde of walkers approach the Oceanside due to being attacked by the recent explosions, Rick and group make a formation around everyone as a few of the Oceanside members join in for the fight. And so after the fight is over, even though Beatrice shakes Rick's hand at the end, signifying that they're on the same side, Natanya wanders off like a crazy old senile woman yelling how they won't help.
No. We're not fighting them with you. So take your damn guns and go.
So as the Oceanside awkwardly watches Rick and group take their weapons, Rick assures Gabriel that they really do need all of them, considering that they'll have to give a ton to the Junkyard group still as well. Meanwhile, Carl tries comforting Enid over the fact that she was about to shoot Natanya, relating back to a small conversation that they had at the beginning of the episode where Enid asked Carl if he has ever thought about the people that he's killed. Yes, Carl admits that he does think about the people that he has killed, but later on he admits to Enid that those aren't the only people that he thinks about. He also thinks about the people that he decided not to kill. Tara talks to Sydney on their way out, telling her that they'll return the guns once the war has been won. Sydney mentions that she wants to go with them, along with most of the community, but it has to be unanimous in order for them to fully pitch in. As Sydney mentions that Natanya is laying down due to the fact that she didn't want to see their guns getting taken, Tara thanks Sydney for the many times that she's saved her life. I don't know about you guys, but I fully support Tara and Sydney getting together in season 8 or 9, and I really hope that Sydney doesn't end up joining the war just to die somehow. Anyways, as they leave the Oceanside, Tara gives Rachel the finger again as they walk away, referencing 706 when she originally said and did the same thing. As Rick asks her if she's alright, Tara responds by saying that she's fine and that Rick was right at the beginning of the episode. Tara now realizes that she doesn't need to feel bad for what she just did, especially considering the ways Natanya and Sydney both acted, Natanya being crazy of course, while Sydney comforted her and supported her. Anyways, with the Oceanside taken care of, let's go ahead and jump into the Sanctuary and break down what exactly went on there during this episode. The first scene we saw, the Sanctuary, actually really surprised me and impressed me at the same time. We get to witness Sasha take over the horrible rapey Davy scene that Holly had to endure in the comics, which is something that I've predicted on my channel previously. Now normally they wait to show something like this until the end of the episode, which is what I assumed, but we actually got shown it at the beginning. We see David walk into Sasha's cell as he starts creeping on her hardcore. Thing is though, he left the door open and obviously gets caught in the act. I'm pretty sure this is the happiest a lot of people have been to see Negan as he completely stops David in his tracks and starts explaining how rape is not acceptable and against the rules. One slightly redeeming factor for Negan is that he's completely against sexual violence of any kind and does not take lightly to it. This is shown by him taking out that ginormous fucking knife and waving it around David's face before stabbing it right through his damn neck. And one thing that I saw on Talking Dead and wanted to say real quick is that even though Negan has killed a monster, it doesn't make himself any less of one. And this is true, no matter what Negan does, many fans will never be able to forgive him for what he did to Glenn and Abraham.
You know what? I do not accept your apology.
So anyways, after the horrific event of Davey getting stabbed through the neck, Negan asks the man behind him to grab him a new shirt for Sasha as he starts talking to her and questioning her. Negan remembers her and realizes that she was there the night Glenn and Abe died, leading him to ask her if Rick set her up to this or not.
Big question here, and I need the truth on this one.
Did Rick put you up to this?
Rick, your bitch. No.
After Sasha's hilarious answer, Negan gives her quite a few options of what she can do with her life next. Negan gives her that big knife that he used to kill David with, which I actually think might be the same one that he used to kill Spencer with as well. Anyways, he tells Sasha that she can use it for a multitude of things, but is ultimately left with the decision on whether or not to join the Saviors for herself. And so although this scene was completely amazing and I love everything that they did with it, I'm a little bit disappointed that we just get to see Sasha in her cell already instead of watching her get captured. Now I've actually done a completely separate video on my single complaint about the entire episode, which is the fact that we never got to see Sasha running into the sanctuary all Rambo. I expected to see a lot more involving her getting caught, even if it just was in the form of flashbacks somehow. Be sure to check out my other video after this review if you haven't yet already, as I definitely go way more in depth about the situation. Although this episode was amazing in so many ways and so action-packed, I'm still a little bit let down that we didn't get to see Sasha running into the sanctuary from the inside. Anyways, as Negan leaves her to think about her options, comes to visit her a bit later, bringing her some basic supplies such as a pillow and a cup of water. Eugene first mentions that there was debate as to whether he should even go in to talk to her or not, admitting that he had to agree to be on his own if she decided to take him hostage. He tells her that although she may not want to be on the same side as Negan, joining the Saviors is definitely Eugene's best option. Here admits to Sasha what we all needed to hear him say, as he gives his explanation on why he still thinks that he's a coward but is okay with it. That the night Glenn and Abraham died was the scariest moment of his entire life, and that he was delusional to even consider himself a survivor. Eugene fully gave in to Negan's terror and accepted his offer so that Eugene admits worry about getting hit by Lucille ever again. All Sasha does is tell Eugene to leave, and so he knocks on the door and gets let out. Eugene admits happens, David starts turning into a zombie as Sasha stares at him, wondering what decision she should make. The next time we end up seeing Sasha's door open, all Negan can do is smile as he congratulates Sasha on choosing the right decision. Sasha is standing there waiting for him, showing that she stabbed Walker David right in the head. As Negan grabs the knife out of him, he jokes about needing to give Sasha baby steps in order to get back into the line of trust, as he's not really going to just instantly assume that she's changed. He tells her that he'll give her a taste of the luxuries that they provide at the sanctuary, and tells her to enjoy tonight as tomorrow will be a big day. Although Sasha seems disappointed in her decision, Eugene stops by again later to try and reassure her that she made the correct choice. Sadly, Sasha seems to completely regret her decision to join the Saviors, as she's just overwhelmed with guilt and worry. Eugene tells her that he'll try to help her get used to things, but Sasha is so far from even considering that as an option, it's not even funny. What Sasha does next is beg Eugene for a weapon to commit suicide with. After a lot of convincing, Eugene finally agrees that he'll come up with something for her, and as she hears that he'll agree, she smiles and says thank you, implying that she was just faking and didn't really want to commit suicide. What she really wants is a weapon so that she can just stab Negan next time she sees him, but that's not what she gets whatsoever. Eugene comes back, giving her one of the suicide pills that he originally made back in 7-Eleven, which just completely disappoints Sasha. And so we've mentioned previously on the channel Eugene bringing up the pills to Sasha, but what exactly is she going to do with them? Is she going to end up using it as a last resort if she can't think of any other plans, or is she just going to take the pill right away? We see her in the promo for next episode, so she doesn't take it right away, so will she end up taking it later on? Anyways, enough at the sanctuary, let's go ahead and look at the hilltop as we continue the story from last episode, checking back in on Maggie and what she's up to. We can see her teaching Eduardo tips on how to garden as she starts putting her old farming skills to good use. Maggie mentions that there's a perfectly healthy blueberry bush growing just outside the walls, and that she wants to grab it because it could lead to a full blueberry garden one day. Maggie is really starting to plan on staying long term, and is simply just contributing to the community like how Gregory told Jesus that he wanted her to last episode. And the thing is though, this scene is just another small example of how Maggie is slowly starting to take over authority over Gregory, and how she hardly even needs to try, as she's just being herself, doing the right things that she'd normally do. Eduardo even calls her boss lady while Gregory just stands there being useless staring at his book. Anyways, this leads us to the scene that I've broken down previously on my channel. It was given to us as a sneak peek for the episode, and it includes Gregory actually talking to Maggie while she's trying to uproot that blueberry bush. Upon noticing him, Maggie gives him a hard time for being outside the walls, considering that he never leaves them. All Gregory does is mention that he built them for a reason, and jumps to the main reason why he came to talk to her in the first place. He asks her why her friends are gone and why she's still there. It's it's obvious that Gregory doesn't want Maggie to be there any longer. He ends up apologizing for being so difficult to work with, admitting that he never wanted this feud between them to become what it is. Maggie appreciates the apology and mentions that if he's actually serious about it, that she can swing by his office later on and talk to him more about it. This is where they hear something in the woods, and Maggie actually asks Gregory to keep a lookout for her while she finishes digging up the blueberry bush. This is why Gregory takes out his teeny little knife as he stands there keeping watch for any walkers. This was teased to us like crazy as Gregory just stands behind her, staring at her with his knife in his hand like a madman. Although it's starting to look like he might actually make an attempt on her life, he eventually snaps out of it. Like most people, I assumed that Gregory wasn't going to actually do anything here, but this can be considered as a very important foreshadowing for seasons to come as Gregory increases his hatred towards Maggie. Comic book readers know what I'm talking about, but that being said, the tension is broke up as Gregory points out a walker that he finds, and he tells Maggie that he can handle it. The last thing that he wants to do is have a pregnant woman protect him, but that's exactly what ends up happening. He chickens out killing the first walker and just ends up getting attacked by a second one while he's letting Maggie take out the first. He calls her name in distress, begging for help as she runs over and kills the zombies on top of him. This of course has to happen all while members of the Hilltop community are walking up the path to the entrance, leaving it to be a complete embarrassment for Gregory. And to add insult to injury, Maggie calls out saying that he's never killed a walker before but that he's learning, and the group of people mention that that's not what Gregory told him as they walk away. If Gregory would have just admitted to Maggie that he didn't know how to kill one in the first place, Maggie could have actually taught him on how to do it. She wouldn't have made fun of him or anything, she would have actually legitimately wanted to help him learn how to defend himself. And considering that there were two zombies, she could have shown him how to take out the first and then gotten him to practice on the second. Anyways, as Gregory makes his way back to his office, he pulls out the address of the sanctuary Simon gave him during episode 714. He starts pouring himself tequila as he calls Cal in and pulls out a map meant for tourists. He tells Cal that he needs him to drive him somewhere and that he needs to pack. Is Gregory the little birdie that told Negan about Rick's plans? I'm unsure how exactly the timeline is going, so I don't know if Gregory could make it to them in time to inform Negan by the end of the episode, but that was just my original guess. And finally, to conclude the episode, we watch Rick and group get back to Alexandria as Rosita opens up the gate for them. Enid and Jesus quickly run to Rosita asking what happened, and all that Rosita does is mention that someone's here. So she leads them to the cell created by Morgan back in season 6, revealing that Dwight is the one who Rosita saw at the end of the last episode. So as literally everyone tries stopping Daryl from just instantly beating the shit out of him, Rosita says that he wants to help. Now I really wish that Daryl would have just started feeding Dwight punches right then and there, but we can see him holding a knife up to Dwight in the season 7 finale, so I suppose something else will go down in that regard. The episode ends with Rick pointing a gun at Dwight's head, telling him that if he wants to help, he can start by getting down on his knees. Now we see him standing behind Negan at the entrance to Alexandria in the next episode, so did Dwight make some sort of plan with Rick to go back into Negan's ranks and be their man from the inside? Now don't forget that Dwight actually killed Denise back at the end of season 6, and Tara is probably going to be really pissed off about that. That being said, do you guys trust Dwight, or do you even like him for that matter? Leave your opinions of him or anything else from the episode down in the comment section below, as I always enjoy scrolling through them and discussing with you guys what exactly you thought about the episode yourselves. That being said, feel free to leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, but that's pretty much it for my review of this episode, guys. I'm planning on doing future discussion videos around certain topics from this episode, and with the season 7 finale literally right around the corner, there's going to be so much to discuss in the following weeks, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for future Walking Dead content. Regardless, thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.